Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Thanks to everyone for joining us. I'll just start by saying this is a webinar designed for local authorities, and we'll be covering all the new features that were released at the start of the month. So we'll begin with a few housekeeping notes. First of all, just to make you aware, the webinar is being recorded and will be published on YouTube. Once the recording is available, we'll send the link to the email address that you used to register. We're aware that there's an issue affecting Microsoft Teams, which means we might not be able to use the Q&A. If the function is working, we'll try and respond to your questions using the Q&A feature. But if you're having problems with it, you can also use the evaluation form to ask questions, and we'll include any responses in the follow-up email that we send. We'll also be posting useful links in the Q&A, so do keep an eye out on that section for additional resources and references. And we'll also share a link to a survey at the end of the call. We really welcome your feedback about how we can improve these sessions in the future. So today we're going to be covering we've got an update from the policy team, and then we'll be talking through the new features, including the export, attendance and absence codes, attendance and sickness return, cross-border pupils download, updates to your attendance download, and new dashboard filters. We'll also be talking about changes to CBDS. We've got an excellent case study from Ed McGee from Camden Learning, and we'll also have an update on the new Remove from Role report. So I'm now going to pass you over to Jamie Bowden, who will give you an update on school attendance policy. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Jamie Bowden. I'm one of the policy advisors on school attendance with specific responsibility for the daily attendance data collection. Before we get into some of the new features we've introduced for local authorities this month on the View Your Education data platform, I just wanted to briefly reflect on the last academic year and really say a massive thank you to everyone on this call and your colleagues in your respective local authorities, because last year we saw a surge in school attendance with pupils collectively in school for 5 million more days than the year before. And we also saw 140,000 fewer pupils persistently absent. And I think we really recognise the very central role that local authorities have played in supporting schools and families in your area. And those stats are a testament to that real hard work. So thank you. I'm sure you will have seen last weekend extensive media coverage on the issue of school attendance and indeed behaviour, which was absolutely fantastic and sets us up really well for the academic year ahead. As part of that coverage, we announced our new attendance and behaviour hubs. These hubs will provide expert attendance and behaviour support to 800 schools, covering 6,000 pupils, with £1.5 million of funding attached. Alongside this, we've announced that many of you will know Jane Lowe and Tom Bennett. We've announced that they will become the department's attendance and behaviour ambassadors and will play a really important role in ensuring that yours and the sector's voice is reflected as we shape the future of the programme. And we're underpinning all of that by greater access to breakfast clubs, mental health support and pupil premium funding across the country. Before I hand over to Alison to get into the sort of meat of this webinar, I had 3 specific plugs that I wanted to give you, and I'll be posting, hopefully Microsoft Teams allowing, I'll be posting links to signpost you in that direction shortly. The first update is to say that this week we've published updated statutory guidance on children missing education, and the department will be hosting another webinar specifically on this guidance for local authorities on Tuesday, the 16th of September. The second is that many of you are already using our newly published attendance toolkit for local authorities. In case you haven't seen that document, I'll also be posting a link to our Knowledge Hub for local authorities where this is being hosted. And then finally, from me, we're currently surveying local authorities about your experiences of sentencing for attendance offences and for breaches of school attendance orders. We're asking local authorities to share those experiences with us because we know informally that the picture is mixed across the country. So we're asking for those responses to that survey by the 30th of September, if it's all possible. And again, we'll post a link to that in the chat. That's everything from me. So I will hand over to Alison to get into some of these exciting new features that we've released for local authorities.
Hi, I'm Alison Cahoon. I joined the team recently as product manager for the daily data service, and I'll be talking you through the first of the new features available to you. So, following feedback from local authorities requesting access to more granular data, we released a dashboard allowing you to view and export session level data for each pupil. And while we were developing this feature, the dashboard was shared with some local authorities who volunteered to try out a prototype. And we made a number of improvements based on this feedback, such as a new filter to narrow down the results by trust, an inclusion of guidance on how the report works and what the data includes. One thing to be aware of when using this tool is the maximum row count limit shown in the top right of this screen. The data updates daily, so as the year goes on, the data will build up and you might need to use the filters to narrow down the results before you can export it usefully. And we go on to the next one, thank you. So this one is attendance and sickness returns. This is based on a feature we previously released for schools, which helped them identify pupils to include in their absence returns to the local authority. So this report provides local authorities with visibility of these pupils, meaning it's easier for schools to complete statutory returns and allows LAs to identify any pupils who've not been reported. And what's included here is pupils with 10 school days or 20 sessions or more of continuous unauthorised absence and 50 days full or part days of sickness. And then in the report, there's two tabs for pupils who meet those two different criteria. And it's put together with the pupil data and school details and information on the total days sickness or absence, and also signposts to guidance on the data and how to use it. I will pass over to my colleague Natalie, who's going to talk you through some more of the features.
Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Heath. I'm a content designer in our user-centered design team. So I'm just going to talk you through a couple of the other things we've released this month for local authorities. And this one being a download that you now have access to for pupils living in your local authority but attending a school somewhere else. We refer to these with DFE language, and we call them cross-border pupils, and local authority responsibilities for monitoring and managing attendance of cross-border pupils is all outlined in the Working Together to Improve School Attendance guidance. So I think there's a link on this page to that if you want to review that. But essentially this file it contains all of the kind of same data items as your usual weekly attendance data download, which is a CSV file, except it's rather than it being based on pupils attending school in your local authority, it's looking specifically at pupils children who live in your local authority but go to school somewhere else. So this is based on home postcode, so we identify these pupils by their home postcode rather than the kind of data rather than knowing that they go to a school in your local authority. This has been set up as a new feature in the tool, so you'll see it. You should be able to see it when you log in. It's called Monitor Your Cross-Border School Attendance, so you can access the download there. Next slide, please. Thank you. As part of that implementation, we've also added some new data items into both downloads. And the first change we've made is added 2 new columns alongside the naming the school local authority. We're also naming the home local authority, so that's kind of clear within both of your files, and will hopefully kind of help if you're combining data sets, just to be clear which is their home and who's responsible for the school. And at the same time, we've also surfaced some additional data items within the downloads. These are data items that were available via the data collection via schools, but we hadn't yet kind of surfaced. And these are English as an additional language, which is based off each pupil's first language. In the download, you'll see it listed as EAL, and yeah, it's available for each pupil and will show as either yes, no, or if we don't have access to that information via the school MIS, it will show as unknown. And there's also 2 additional columns in there as well. We've put the column letters in here for ease, and that's for primary and secondary SEND type, and that applies to any pupil recorded to have SEND support or an EHCP. The SEND types are ranked first and second, and is again based on what's recording in the school MIS. And the primary need is the most significant, and that's ranked as the first, and the secondary need is the secondary. We only collect 2 rankings via the daily data collection, so just to kind of bear that in mind. Next slide, please. And also to say that these data items are available in the dashboards too as filters. SEND type is slightly different to how we present the data in the downloads. Essentially, we're combining the kind of the primary and secondary, so that you see a list of all SEND types that are captured for pupils' needs across the local authority. So if you select one of those, you're selecting the SEND type, which could be primary or secondary. It's not identifiable as primary or secondary in the dashboard. Yes, so that's everything from me. I think I'm handing over now to our lead data analyst, Tom Pywell, to talk about some changes we've made in the tool to improve data quality.
Hi, everybody. I'm a data analyst. My name is Tom, and I'm just going to be talking about CBDS today. So CBDS is something that some of you, or at least your data teams, will be familiar with, particularly in regards with the census submissions. So the CBDS is a file containing definitions for common data items that schools, local authorities use in different softwares. So in our case, they're MISs. Historically, we've faced issues and inconsistencies in the way that different schools or organizations, establishments, MISs record this data. And these will have been particularly apparent to larger LAs with more schools using different softwares. So some of you may have observed behavior like the table on the bottom left on the screen right now in our products. So over the last year or so, we've been collecting standardized or compliant versions of data items we've been collecting for the last 3 years at the same time. And from the beginning of this academic year, we've switched our products over to present the standardized versions back to you. Just to touch on the issues that we're trying to fix here. In the table on the left down below, we can see some different values we've received that actually have the same underlying meaning, making it difficult to use our products. So for example, year group in the table on the bottom left, multiple distinct values that actually all indicate reception or year group 1. And then in the table on the right, you should be seeing the same values used across all the schools in your LA, regardless of which MIS they're using or what values they use internally to represent these values. Another benefit here is that there's some invalid values in the table on the left. So -88, for example, for a year group. This isn't benefiting from standardization across your MISs and schools, but it should just benefit from actually using a standard value that's interpretable to yourselves as well as the DFE. So we're not actually cleansing or changing any data we do receive, but now we have standards to point to. So you may still see invalid data in our products, and you may also still see missing data in our products. There are still a small number of schools yet to agree to share this CBDS compliant data with us. And we are reaching out to them and asking them to accept the permissions and share this data with us. we're now going to be looking at a case study from one of our users.
Hello everybody, I'm Ed McGee, the team manager for attendance and children out of school in the London Borough of Camden. Camden, if you don't know where we are, is a very small council in central London, and the changing demographics of London have seen a reduction in the number of school places we need. CME numbers are very small, and we do have places in most schools across the LA. I know that's different to many colleagues across the country. We are a very small service offering advice and guidance to schools with limited casework capacity, but at the heart of all our work is data. It underpins everything we do and how it links to supporting pupils so that they strive to have the best possible attendance. Our priority for this year is to improve attendance across all our schools, but also to reduce levels of persistent absence across the LA, as well as increasing capacity within schools to remove the barriers to poor attendance, supported by new attendance network hubs and enhanced training for all staff across schools and the council footprint. Camden was pleased to be part of the initial pilot testing of the enhancements to the year education data. We've also invested in an enhanced LA database with live attendance data coming to the system for the first time this week. Previously, we relied on school census data, so having live data is very exciting for us. So, of course, we're really looking forward to the enhancements that are coming this year in VIED. Every Monday morning, I look at VIED, and that's used to publish our weekly attendance data to all our schools, showing those at or above the Camden average and where they compare to other schools in the LA, and also, more importantly, our rankings in London and across England. This year, the data will be shared weekly via our head teacher's bulletin and in greater depth via our attendance and strategy resources folder, where we store all our policies and resources for schools online. The attendance data is the most clicked on link in our weekly attendance update, and it forms a key part of the comms from us to our schools. So the ability to download that data will mean we can provide even greater analysis and use it to spot emerging trends and greater accuracy on the data returns. Our data team already produces an attendance analysis for each school that has a great deal of information showing where they rank to other schools in Camden, but anonymously. It also looks at year groups, it looks at ethnicity, it looks at SEN, and it also links to achievement for pupils. This is published termly at the moment, and it will be complemented by the new weekly data that we publish for our schools. One of the best changes recently has been the new Monitor Your School Attendance Similar Schools Comparison Report, showing those key strengths and areas for schools. The reports are shared not only with heads, but with colleagues across the school leadership and attendance teams, but also with our LA advisors, and they've been using those to have their discussion with head teachers each term. And the reports have been welcomed by the heads and our advisors alike. And they'll also be used as part of our targeted support meetings with schools each term. Our data and the new enhancements will help us and schools prepare for the new Ofsted framework. And each week we suggest an attendance theme for schools to look at, and they'll look at that theme 3 times across the school year, giving those schools a deeper understanding of their data and where their strengths are. They can then also use this to look at forming a short-term action plan and assess if this has been effective. It's also helped shape our conversations with services across the council, particularly with our health services and with our GP colleagues. It's also meant we've had greater work and collaboration with our colleagues in SEN, so they now know when pupils with EHCPs are missing school, and with our colleagues in the virtual school. So last time we found out by chance that our SEN colleagues were about to ask schools for an attendance data on a paper form. We said, we've got that. We can give you that now in real time, which means it's less information going out to schools and less requests for admin work for schools to do. And VIA data also goes to the virtual school every day as well. All activity with schools is about equipping them with the evidence to show how they are improving attendance, and without it being a major admin burden on them. And use of those codes has enabled us to look at the data that we've got without asking schools for it, reduces the admin burden for them, and it gives them time to look at ways of removing those barriers for children's attendance. It's less work for them and less chasing for us. We've also looked at introducing a new Children Out of Education panel so that the LA has oversight of pupils who've had 15 days illness, 10 days unauthorised absence, and quality assurance of part-time timetables. This also includes our independent schools, and we have as many of those as we do LA and schools and academies. The panels are helping us to get a better understanding of who is concerned about children and look at the roles of those various panels across the LA. Our data has helped us form the basis of our TSMs, and we RAG rate every school for attendance. 18 months ago, we introduced new school inclusion support officers to work in collaboration with schools on attendance and behaviour. The results at the end of the school year showed that our green schools, who were above the national average, changed from 10 in 23-24 to 22 last academic year. Our 18 amber schools, who were up to 1% below the national average, changed to 8. And our 10 red schools, who were more than 1% away from the national average, reduced to 8. So instead of having 28 primary schools below national average, we now have 16, which is a huge shift for us, especially those 2 red schools in primary who are now green schools. At secondary, we had 4 green, 2 amber and 4 red. We now have 5 green, 1 amber and 4 red. And one of those red schools in 23-24 is now considered a green school, which is a great testament to the work that they have done to improve attendance. For the future, having the data is amazing. And it's meant that as a team, we've had to learn new ways of sorting and filtering data. We're now much better at Excel and AI than we ever were before. And as well as new ways of displaying that data so that schools see it as a relevant information for them. For me, future developments would be about having some videos that give us some guides on how to use the tools so that we can refer to them when we need them, when we've got new staff, but also how to download and how to present that data in different ways that are meaningful for schools. The biggest change for me is over the last couple of years with support from colleagues in the DFE and across the country, we've changed how we've worked so that everybody in school is now curious about why pupils are not there. It's no longer left to just the attendance officer to deal with that piece of work. Ultimately, that data makes us more effective, and it's helped shape those conversations we have with parents and pupils, so everybody knows the importance of attendance. And at the heart is support first. And who is that trusted adult who can help remove those barriers to attendance? And how do we ensure that sense of belonging for pupils?
Hope you enjoyed that case study from Ed. And Ed, if you're on the call, thanks so much for providing that. It's really good to hear from you. So now I'm going to talk about the Removed from Roll report update. In July, we released a new report of pupils of compulsory school age who had left school in your local authority during the current academic year and have not joined another school in England. From the 15th of September, you'll have access to 2 downloads, so from next Monday. A static file which will remain in place for the rest of the current academic year. This file will contain details of pupils who have left a school during the 24-25 academic year but have not enrolled in another school by the 13th of September 2025. And a second download, which will be a weekly file replaced every Monday, containing pupils who have left a school since the 1st of September, but who, as of the date of the production of the file, have not been enrolled in another school elsewhere. It's worth noting that this is not a list of children missing education, but it can be used to support LA's usual checks and reasonable inquiries to identify or locate suspected children missing education. There may be valid reasons why a pupil has not joined another school, for example, having left the country or moved to a suitable home education. This week, as Jamie mentioned earlier, the department published an updated children missing educational statutory guidance for LAs and schools that children missing education teams should regard when using this data. So finally, I'm just going to talk through some of the key takeaways from today's session. First of all, please do, if you haven't already, explore the new features that we've shown you today. Second of all, the summary reports and similar schools reports are now available in the Monitor Your School Attendance to download, so please do log on and have a look at those. Finally, if you have any feedback about the new features, you can click on the feedback link on the main dashboard in the Monitor Your School Attendance. And you can also use this link to volunteer to participate in future user research. On the 7th of October, we're going to be holding a special webinar, which will be an introduction to Monitor Your School Attendance tool. So this will be a perfect introduction to the service for any users that haven't used it, or anyone who's kind of maybe had a look at it but wants to kind of understand a bit more about how it works. We'll share details in the follow-up email. Thank you very much for attending today. We'll post a link to a feedback form in the Q&A. It would be really grateful if you can complete that. Apologies if you have had any issues posting questions in the Q&A. As I mentioned earlier, you can use the evaluation form if you want to ask any questions, and we'll try and get you responses to those when we send the follow-up email. So thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you all again.